Hi, everybody in first through eighth grade. This is Mr. Henderson, and this is a little bit of a tutorial or help video for improving how we use Google Classroom. Last week, I had videos on basically the beginnings of using Google Classroom, taking a look, doing a little practice signing in, and this week, what we want to do is we just want to improve on a few things and maybe see a few other details about using Google Classroom so that you guys are successful. The assignments for both last week and today, these are really meant as sample assignments. They're made up to be fairly quick, fairly simple, but things that you can use as samples because the point of this class and the one last week is really making sure that you guys have a great sense of how to use Google and Google Classroom in all of your classes, both mine and for all of your other teachers. So we're going to pretend that I'm a sample student, and that's the account that I have made up. Then in my app browser, I've already signed into Google, which we talked about last week. And in my app browser, right here, right, these 9 dots, I click Find Google Classroom, and then go to the class that I want to work in. If for some reason you haven't added yourself to any of my Google Classrooms so far, that was from last week. And if we looked at our school's web page, the home page for Weymouth Township Schools right here, the teacher pages has every teacher's website. Mine is the last one, and it has the codes to add yourself to my Google Classroom, which we did last week, and I had videos showing and explaining how to do that, but those are still available if anybody still needs to. So back to Google Classroom. If I have several classes here, I figure out which one I want, click on it, and what we're going to look at today are a couple of details, and it's going to go right along with the sample assignments for today. So first, I put a post at the top of every one of my Google Classrooms that just briefly talks about the fact that I might be making up content and materials on a Monday, a Tuesday, a Thursday, a Friday, maybe the weekend, and I may be posting them there to have them ready ahead of time. If you see them, and if you look at them, if you do some of them, if you work on them, if you turn them in on a different day, I don't really mind that. That's not a problem. But please keep in mind for both parents and students that those, I'll specify which Wednesday those are for. So if, for instance, on a Tuesday night I have everything posted and you go do those assignments on your Tuesday night, I don't mind. Just make sure that you realize that that was the content for the class on Wednesday. So first thing to point out is that I started putting some due dates on the assignments, right? And this is for a sample, and the only reason I have those due dates is so that you can see here in your stream section that in this left-hand side, the assignments that are coming up due soon, right? When teachers put a due date on them, they'll appear right here, and you'll know, wait a minute, this is something due tomorrow, this is something due Thursday. And again, these are samples, so there's nothing to be stressed about or worried about, but this is just to show you that if teachers do choose to put due dates on their assignments, that this is where you'll see them kind of summed up and what's coming up the most quickly, and you can see that very easily from your stream. Also, remember how we talked about last week? There's a difference between something like this right here that you're going to see at the top of your Google Classroom that's an announcement, and then assignments that appear a little bit differently right here. And they start to look a little bit jumbled too, because this is after only 2 weeks in a few sample computer class assignments. You can imagine there start to be many numerous assignments, things posted, and comments and everything else that can be in Google Classroom. So to make sure you're turning in and doing everything that you need to, you go to the classwork tab. And another thing that I wanted to point out is that over here, teachers can separate their content, their assignments into topics. So what I'm going to start doing, and I did for today, is I made the everything that we need to do today in this topic for September 16th. And so if I click right here, it's going to show me at once all of the things that are part of this assignment. In this sample one, the one with the instructions comes first, and it says 5 things. Watch the video linked below on Google Classroom Practice 2. That's actually the video that you're watching right now, and that's why you don't see the video up here, because I'm in the middle of making it. Watch the second video on working with Windows and tabs in Google Chrome. Complete the assignment, what is your favorite animal, and sample fun quiz. I'm just going to stop right there for a moment. So those 2 assignments are right here. And when I look at them, I can see that they are part of this topic for September 16th, and that they have been assigned, and they are things to do, things to turn in. When I was back in my stream, when I had this post at the top that's an announcement, you don't have to do anything with that. If you have a question, if you have a comment, you could possibly put it, but nothing needs to be done here. What happens over here in the classwork tab is that when there's an assignment, you do need to turn them in. And that was one of the big pieces that I had a lot of people miss last week. And let me give you an example of what people did that was just a little bit incorrect. And it's not a problem, it's not a big deal, but we want to see if we can improve and we can do a little bit better this week. So right here is an assignment, and it says it's a new question. What is your favorite animal? Now, I had people do a couple of things. First, some people answered in the comment section right here. So they put, say, snake, right? And then they made that comment. Well, I don't want to do that because that's not a comment that I need to put on there. Where I need to answer, if this was an assignment where you're getting credit, where it's something that could be right or wrong, a teacher's collecting them, seeing who turned them in, you want to make sure you type your answer in the answer section. If it's a post that's set up as classwork where it's something that you fill in the answer. So right here, I might want to say, for this one, I'll put American alligator. All right, and then the other thing when you're completing one that's like this, a question, is that some people typed that in and then stopped. They stopped, but this turn in button right here is really important because from my side as a teacher, when I go and check that everybody's done it and completed successfully and turned their work in, this turn in button is what allows you to go ahead and turn in that assignment and finish it. And when teachers set up assignments, they can have options of if other students can see yours, if you can go back and change yours later on. Those things are different for every teacher's assignments and how they choose to set them up. Really not important in terms of this video, but I really just want to make sure that you guys successfully know how to turn them in. Here's one other that is a questions in a sample fun quiz. Now, for this assignment right here, we see the beginning of it, but we don't see much else except a place to comment. What I have to do is actually click on the assignment, and it gave me a little pop-up because where I put my comment about snake, I never actually submitted that comment, but that's okay. Now, when I clicked on the assignment, here's what it did. It did a couple of different things. It gives me the full title at the top, answer the questions in the sample fun quiz below, and submit to turn them in. So it tells me that, tells me how many points it's worth, tells me when it's due, and over here it has a document for me to work in. It has a turn in button. This add or create button, that would be if it's something that you're just creating from scratch, and that is possible in some assignments, but we're not doing that right now. And then also it has comments that just between you and the teacher, and this is the spot where you would see those if you had a question or you had something to say or your teacher gave you some feedback. You would see those comments that the rest of the class doesn't see right here between you and your teacher. Now, for your work, in this one, it's a document that I came up with, and you click on. And this is just supposed to be a sample fun quiz, just something to do to get practice in turning it in. And it gives you a couple questions here. At what temperature does water change from a liquid to a solid? And I'm going to put 100 degrees. I don't know if that's right or not. You might want to check with a parent, you might want to look it up, or you might know yourself, but see what you think, see if that's the right answer or not, and what you would put in. Next, what cartoon is about a community of blue-skinned creatures like Papa, Clumsy, and Brainy, along with their enemy named Gargamel? And I would turn in the answer right here. Or, I'm sorry, type in the answer right here. Now, when I'm finished with that, Google saves it automatically. So, I put all my answers in, and I'll say this in a very general sense. As long as you're connected to the internet, your Google will save all your answers. There's a few side notes about that, but I'm not going to get into that today. And when you're finished, you could turn in right here and say that you're done. Or if you happen to leave and exit out of that document, you could also go and turn it in right here. So I'm going to press turn in. And now that I've done that and confirmed it on the second screen, now it's finished, and it shows me by this button changing right here, that's turned in, or it says it right here, and by this button right here, it's turned in, that's finished. And because the teacher, in this case me, gave the option of going back and making changes after you submit it, you could choose to unsubmit it if you needed to go back and change something. But for Google Classroom this week, when you're completing these things, one of the main things I want to see people do is turn in their work when they're finished, because that's really important for all of your classes, and also know where to go and find stuff like the private comments and how to answer successfully, and not just put a comment on different things for your answer when that may not be the way, and is often not the way, that you want to complete and then finish and turn in your work.